Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about finding your voice and having the courage to actually use your voice. You know, our voice is one of the most powerful tools that we have that affects pretty much every area of life. But so many of us are afraid to actually use it to its fullest potential. And that can stem from so many things, like you might come from a family who is very loud and there just wasn't a place for you to speak in the household. No one held space for you to actually express yourself. So you just weren't in the habit of speaking up for yourself. Or you just might be a naturally shy person where speaking up just doesn't, it's not innate in you. So whatever the reason may be, you can always improve upon speaking up for yourself and building that courage to do so. So let's talk about how not speaking up for yourself could be inhibiting you in your life, right? You could be someone who's at the same job for several years and you see that everyone around you is getting raises or getting promoted or both, right? But if you're someone who is hesitant to speak up, in your head, you're thinking, well, geez, if I go to my boss and ask, I think I'm due for a raise, well, he or she they might fire me. They might say no. We jump to the scariest scenario. But the truth is, if you don't ask, you don't get. And that's just reality. That's the world that we live in. We were given this voice for a reason, and we owe it to ourselves to communicate and ask for what we want and what we actually deserve. That's the key word there. You deserve a raise or you deserve a promotion if you've been pouring your blood, sweat, and tears into a company, and things are just staying stagnant. You deserve more. You deserve a promotion. You deserve to get a raise. I'm here to tell you that. And it's not just in the workplace that this affects our lives, right? It's friendships and romantic relationships and family dynamics that are very much affected when we don't express ourselves. Because what happens when you don't get the facts and you don't ask the questions is that you come up with the narrative and the answers yourself. And I guarantee you that those narratives and answers aren't very positive ones. And I can say that because the mind tends to go to very negative places when it is left up to its own devices to come up with that story. And it does that just to protect itself, to protect you. It's not trying to be malicious, trying to make you feel bad, but it's just to protect you and say, oh my God, that situation is really scary and really bad. So protect yourself, assume the worst, and that way you won't get hurt. But in reality, if you're to ask the questions and get the facts on the situation that you're making assumptions about, you'll probably find out that, oh geez, that person wasn't trying to offend me when they said that. Or that person didn't take what I said the wrong way. That was all me making that up. And in romantic relationships, that's one of the most common problems, is that people don't communicate with each other. They assume that the other person can read their mind and vice versa. But how's that working out? Right? Probably not so great. So again, it's so important to go to the person with whatever qualm or whatever question that you have and just get down to the facts. Get the story from the source, right? There's no need to be making up these scenarios in our head because we know how that works out. So it's just so worth it to put in that extra effort of just ask the question, right? And then I kind of want to touch on family dynamics because that is an area where I feel like people get really stuck. Just because our role in our families has been our role our whole lives. And it can be really hard to change that. And because of how families are structured with elders and people who are respected in the family, everybody should be respected. But I'm sure you know what I'm talking about when I talk about, say, grandparents and parents and aunts and uncles and things like that. I really don't care what this person's role is in your family. If somebody is not treating you properly, disrespecting you, not giving you space to express yourself and speak your voice, you have every right to speak up for yourself and advocate for yourself. Okay, just because somebody has a mother title, father title, grandparent title, aunt title, uncle title, you know, it doesn't matter who we are. We all deserve the same respect as one another. So it's easy to get caught up in that and say, well, that's frowned upon in my family to speak to my mother, you know, to ask her that question, or my father. But I'm here to tell you that it's totally fine, you know, and I even encourage you to do it, because nothing is worth your peace. Nothing is worth your joy, your happiness, you feeling empowered, and again, living life to its fullest potential. No one or nothing is worth that. And that brings me to all the benefits of speaking up for yourself. When you start to do this, you're going to feel so confident in yourself and so empowered. And also, like we talked about at the beginning, there's going to be benefits from it. Like you might just get that promotion that you ask for and that raise that you ask for. With the confidence that comes with speaking up for ourselves, advocating for ourselves, you're going to have a light about you. You know, once you start feeling more confident in life, it's like a whole world opens up that you were not a part of before. And as human beings, we are social animals. Most of us. I know that some of us are highly introverted and could care less if they interacted with anybody. But most of us are social animals. So it feels really good to be connected with one another. And yes, it can be fearful, but you're courageous. You have so much courage in you that like you don't even know how abundant it is within you. And the thing about courage, it doesn't mean that you can't have fear. Fear is totally normal. If you didn't have fear, you'd probably be a sociopath. So having fear is totally normal. But courage, as I'm sure most of you know, is taking that action step despite the fear. And then the other side of that is the confidence that you're going to feel. Let's talk about how to approach starting to voice your opinions and speak up for yourself and advocate for yourself when it's something that you're totally unfamiliar with. And it's like I can't even imagine doing that. Well, in my coaching practice, I always encourage people to test it out, right? So instead of sort of taking this big approach to life, like, I'm going to have to communicate to all these people at work, and I'm going to have to communicate to my whole family, and I'm going to have to communicate to all my friends. You know, where would I even start? You don't have to do any of that. Just pick one thing that seems doable and feasible at this moment in time. Just one act of communication that you would like to focus on for just this next 7 to 10 days, and follow through with that. So if there's a friend that, again, there's been a miscommunication, or you're just sort of having some thoughts that you would like to express to that person, I encourage you to use that as the first step. So that's a great start to this new habit that you're going to develop over time. So the whole thing is to start with just one thing. Do what you got to do, express yourself to that person, and see how it feels. Note how it feels. When you do it, how do I feel physically? How do I feel emotionally? How do I feel mentally? Right? The answers will probably be pretty positive, but it's that one act that will give you the courage to then go on and express yourself to somebody else, and express yourself to somebody else. So that's how all habits are developed, just one step at a time. Right? It's how the pyramids were made, one brick at a time. We don't have to create the whole thing in one day. So hopefully that helps to take the fear out of it. But I know it can be fearful when it's something that you're not used to doing. But I guarantee you, after a few times of doing this, and maybe even after the first time, that fear will dissipate. And you will be out there chatting it up and asking away and expressing yourself all day, every day. Thank you for hitting the like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I will see you guys in the next one. Ciao.